Hello, welcome to the Sovereign Magazine show, a transformational experience where conscious conversations meet embodied wisdom. Each episode invites visionary healers, thought leaders, and change makers to share their journeys of awakening, offering listeners practical tools and soul-stirring insights to reclaim their inner authority. We have Muslimah Tobias back today for our series on the embodied truth of being, and she and I will be talking about neurodivergent sovereignty when sensitivity is a superpower. Welcome back, Muslimah. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Welcome, Nicole. Thank you for having me here again. Yes, I am Muslimah Tobias. I am the CEO and founder of the.soulprint.collective. Collective. This is like bringing back the ancient roots of remembrance, working specifically with those who are neurodivergent and reclaiming their authentic selves. I have been an advocate for holistic wellness and nutrition for over 20 years, and I use that in my work. Um, yeah, and also in the co-host of the Musita podcast, where we dismantle generational curses and the patterns and old cycles, breaking those cycles. And yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so looking forward to this.
And you're a mama to six.
Yes. How do I
We
forget
can't
that?
we
Yes.
can't
I forget
forget
that.
all of
Yes.
that because it's so incredibly important. It adds so much richness to your life.
Yes. Mom of six neurodivergent children.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. I didn't know if all six were neurodivergent.
Yeah,
That's
they all,
amazing.
yeah. So yeah, just they all mix. Some are just autistic and some autistic and ADHD like me. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I can identify. I was diagnosed later in life, around 45, but they don't know if I officially have ADHD or if it is a malformation in my brain that they accidentally found on CT. So
Oh, okay.
who knows? Who knows what it is, but I embrace it all. Okay, so we're going to be talking about neurodivergency and how sensitivity is our superpower. Now, I know that some people in the neurodivergent world really do not like when people say that your neurodivergency is your superpower. I, however, love that term because I really do feel like we tend to not just think differently, but act differently. We tend to be different.
Yeah.
And I really feel that it is something that not everybody has, right? And it is part of our uniqueness. And so saying that it's our superpower, I don't think it is a negative thing, but I do know that some people feel that way. But you really are tapping into the sensitivity part of it, which anybody who's like an empath or in some sort of spiritual healing world tends to be a little bit more sensitive than others. So why don't you dissect that a little bit for us and share what all of that means to you versus my constructed version?
Yes. First, like let's going into neurodivergent sovereignty. I call it a neurodivergent sovereignty because usually in the system, when we break it down without the word neurodivergence, that looks like maybe ADHD, BPD, autism, and that is pathologized in the system. It's like something is wrong with you. It's a disorder, and so the word neurodivergence is an empowering term, knowing that there's nothing wrong with you. You just operating on a different system. Like we are still a part of like the spectrum of humanity, different way we think, the different way we input information, learn the way our nervous system is wired. And so that looks like looking at yourself and trying to figure out what is the rhythm that you work with, understanding your flow. And so, yeah, that's the sovereignty part, being able to empower yourself that there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing broken, you're just operating on a difference and be able to understand how is that going. And when we talk about sensitivity as a superpower, not actual superpower, like, like Superman, anything like that, but more of in a world where there is a lot of apathy, those who are disconnected from themselves, being able to be sensitive is someone who makes you alive. Sensitive is just being connected to all the senses in your body. We have the five senses of the physical world, but then we have the most important senses, which is our sixth sense, our heart sense. This is like the center of our soul. We think, we feel with our heart. This is our intuition. This is like our deep inner knowing. And yeah, so being able to connect just with yourself, but also with other people is what makes it the superpower, like in the world that people are not connected to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love perhaps this is a good reframe for people. I'm currently reading a book called Teen Psychic. And I
Yes.
apologize, I can't think of her name, and I will make sure that I find it while you talk. I'll do a little typing because
Okay.
I didn't solidify the author's name in my mind, but it was recommended by Efrat Shokef, who's in our community,
Oh
regarding
yeah.
my daughter. She is so intuitive and sensitive, but one of the lines in her book within the first few pages, it made me have this aha moment. And it said something along the lines of, your intuitiveness is your self-esteem. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness. So when you really own your intuition, your sensitivity, whatever you want to call it, your self-esteem can grow and be so grounded in that. So I would love to know, when you work with neurodivergent people who tend to be highly sensitive, how do you help them tap into that? There's quote unquote nothing wrong or nothing to fix, they're not broken. All of these things that we hear, we're just different. And there's so many more
Yeah.
of us now. I think we're feeling a little more comforted in the world. But how do you deal with that?
Helping them go into the body. A lot of us are in our minds, overthinking and all of that. And we process a lot of information and it goes into our mind. So we usually stay stuck up in there. So it's about just slowing down and getting into your body, because your intuition in your body, listening to the sensations, the rhythm, whether you're contraction or expanding. And yes, intuition is self-trust, because intuition is not something tangible. It's something that's just like an inner knowing. It's not something that you can see. So in order to trust that intuition is to trust yourself. And so yeah, the two goes in hand, and it increases your self-esteem, your self-confidence. Yeah, but the main thing is slowing down and getting to their body. And a lot of times, recently I had a client last week, and I'm asking her questions like, what do you feel in your body? She's like, I'm feeling this, and then automatically go back into her head. And so it's about just bringing them back down consistently over time. Just like, okay, you're in your head, you want to get back into your body. Because the thing too, also with neurodivergence, we process so much at a time, but also in us processing, sometimes it's delayed. And it's not nothing about something you're processing slow. A lot of people think, well, maybe she processed that, so she's slower. It's just more depth. So there's more information you're processing. And so why do we cannot usually rely on that when we can rely on our intuition, which is like milliseconds. Like something, like you're talking with someone, you're in a situation, you can feel something is off, something is wrong. We mentioned that in the body's wisdom, episode 1. But when we listen to that and we trust that first, we will be more divinely protected. As in, if we waited like 2 weeks to 3 months, like, you know what, I was in that situation, because you're thinking in your head. So it's good to have the logical, aspect of it to, like I said, it's more of like a detailed report, like a diagnostic detailed report. But when you look at your intuition, that is like the executive summary. Like you get to act in the now and to make the decision. And when you're able to act from that place, it definitely increases your confidence. And you know that you're operating for something higher. It's not just you, but you're also protecting in that. Yes.
Yeah, I love that so much. Okay, the author is Julie Johnson, so I wanted to give
Oh,
her
okay.
credit, her credit there, because I didn't want to not do that. Yeah, we did talk a lot about your body's wisdom, and I actually wanted to tie this into masking, because you talk a lot about
Yeah.
unmasking, because just in general, without the neurodivergency diagnosis, label, whatever we want to call it, name, if you will, a lot of us have to mask in various different ways, right? Mostly, I would say, women do a lot of masking.
Yeah.
And so, it's something that I would love for us to tap into, the fact that our sensitivity can serve as a guidance, and how we can go from survival mode to more of a thriving mode, and really starting to unmask. So maybe share a little bit about your journey and how you unmask, because not only did you, get divorced, all of that, you found out you were neurodivergent, you also realized you were queer. Like, there was a lot of layers peeled back for you that I think others would feel so empowered to hear more about.
Yes. I'm probably going to mention this, as I mentioned a lot of time, is slowing down. because we live in this hustle culture, this fast, go, go, go productivity that we forget to slow down. And slowing down is how you absorb the things, like you being present in the moment and you get to notice the things. And also part of sensitivity is sensuality because it's all related to your senses, being able to connect to the sensations of your body, the language of your body, and to understand what is your yes, what is your no. And a lot of us don't even know that. They don't know what they're feeling, where is it coming from. And so for me, that looked like going out to nature. I mentioned before, nature was the biggest co-regulator for me. I didn't have people to co-regulate with, so nature was to co-regulate with. In order for me to co-regulate with my children, I had to co-regulate in nature. But it's also, as I grew, being able to find other people that get to co-regulate with safe people. Safe people also is really good for your nervous system to allow yourself to unravel, because in order to also be confident, in order to trust yourself, there has to be safety. Safety is the prerequisite for any type of healing. And so for me, it was about building safety. And you want to be safe in your sensitivity. A lot of people don't feel safe. It's kind of like, well, I'm being too sensitive. How do I be less emotional? And it's not about being less emotional or less sensitivity. Your sensitivity is a language. That's actually what makes you alive and what makes you thrive. And so it's just about being safe in that. So for me, that looked like just being safe in my body, just connecting to my body, telling myself affirmations like, oh, I love me, and be able to sit with me. A lot of people are not able to sit alone with themselves because they fear like this big old shadow. And I think we mentioned that in another part, but the big old shadow is not this fear or something to fear. It's just literally different parts of yourself that was dismissed, disowned, suppressed, repressed from you putting up these masks. And they're still there, like, just kind of stunted in that. So imagine it's just like little parts of you, like maybe a little girl, a little boy, or maybe even like a little teddy bear, and just reacquainting with those parts of yourself, building safety, knowing that, okay, you are allowed to exist now. You're safe to exist now. I'm here. What is it that you need? And working with those parts. So for me, that looked like just working with those parts of myself that was repressed. And it's so amazing because the parts that we are scared of, that is the part where all of our usually our hidden talents, our creativity, all our gifts live. And once you start to unravel, then you start to recognize maybe when you were a kid, oh, you always wanted to be a singer or a dancer. But then along the way, you repressed yourself. And then once you start to unravel those parts of yourself, you recognize it was always there. It never went away. You're always whole. You're just maybe fragmented into like these little pieces. You're not broken. You're just fragmented. Now it's just about putting those pieces together to complete that picture again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. And I often think back to a time when I was younger and I really struggled in school, all of school. And I wouldn't say I was a quiet kid, but I remember feeling this tremendous weight of obeying, of being
Yeah.
the good girl, of getting it right, all these things, right? And no matter how hard I tried, I just did really terrible in school. I was like a BC student, but it was like a real struggle for me. And I think back to, had I known back then that I had, ADHD or whatever this is, if you will, officially have the diagnosis so I can get treatment if I need it, because all of my symptoms match the official diagnosis. We found the brain thing later. So anyway, had I had that, would it have been a little bit easier for me, right? But then I also think about the life that I grew up in with the two parents that I had, and perhaps the lack of attention to that diagnosis, because my brother was diagnosed as a very young child with ADHD. And he didn't get the help because they didn't believe in it back then,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so he did turn to drugs and all of that in order to numb. Luckily, right now he's sober, and I really hope he stays on his path. He's been on a very challenging path, but we need to give him praise for where he's at. But, depending on the environment that you grow up in or the teachers that are around you who are or aren't supporting you, that can also shape your view of the diagnosis and how sensitive or not you are. My daughter actually said to me the other day, Mom, it was easier when I kept my feelings to myself. And I said, Well, what do you mean by that? She said it was safer. And I said, Well, can
Mm.
you share with me why you feel unsafe now? And she said, No, I can't put that into words. It just felt safer when everything was inside of me instead of outside. And so it's one of those things where when you're neurodivergent and you're not supported, your sensitivities aren't always seen as a superpower. So, how do we help somebody besides nature and grounding and getting connected to the body? What are some more tangible ways that you help people embrace their sensitivity as a superpower?
Connect in a community. Community is definitely important. Surrounding yourself with other people who are like you, so you know that you are not alone. A lot of us think we are alone in our struggles, and once we understand that we're not alone, there's always a lot of other people with us. That brings like validation. Yeah, it brings validation too. Like, oh, it's not in my head. Still, even to today, I still find different people or different words like on social media or just in like real life. Like, oh wow, I thought I was the only one who did that, or like this is normal. So we have a different normal because we had this myth of normal that like with neurotypicals, this is normal, that's not normal. And when you recognize there's a whole lot of other people like you, oh, this is normal. This is normal for me and the way I work. And yeah, so community is probably one of the biggest things so you can know that you're not alone. And because when it comes to neurodivergent, you feel like you're not alone, you're ostracized, and that can this why it kind of increase drug use or suicide because you feel like there's no one here to support me. So I had to find other way to support me. And usually that those are not good habits. It's what kind of helps you just suppress yourself. But when you are in community with others who are like you, recognize, oh, it's okay. I get to share with these people and I get to relate to other people. That's what it's about as humans. We're meant to like relate to each other and to
Yeah.
like coexist in that way.
Yeah, I love that so much. I'm going to go off on a total tangent because I'm remembering one of your reels several months ago where you said there is a strong link between neurodivergency and being queer. And
Yeah.
when you talked about community, that is what I was thinking about was finding your tribe that fits you in whatever way that means, right? And so, why don't you speak a little bit about that and why those two have been found to be linked? And perhaps maybe somebody who's maybe queer, perhaps might be neurodivergent or vice versa, and they don't know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, once I added the word queerness or like spirituality, I noticed it's like you're getting specific with those keywords. That's when I start to find community. And I won't say it was a dream, but I always had this feeling, this calling that I was meant to be spoken on queerness. And so I had that reel specifically that went viral. I had sitting in my draft for quite a while, and I came across another post. It was about like a Muslim guy talking about queerness in the community, and I'm looking in the comments, and just people are like talking crazy, and I'm like, we're supposed to be like humans. We're supposed to be kind to each other. Like he's not saying anything crazy. He's just voicing his opinion, saying that he feels, I guess, ostracized, and he just want to fit in, like. And
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, I'm going to like send this post, and it was just basically talking about the neurodivergence, the queerness, the correlation between the two, and the correlation is because as a neurodivergent, the way we think, the way we operate is more of like non-binary. So we're not like pigeonholed into these hierarchies and system. And the same thing goes for queerness. Like the sexuality is not pigeonholed into this black and white thing. So they naturally coexist. So as a neurodivergent, you will be naturally considered queer. Whether you are sexually like out of the norm, you will as far as you're eccentric, you're out of the box. um, yeah, and it's I don't think we understand like it's just a whole spectrum. Like most of us think it's just female and male, but also we have God created intersex, you know? And so it's not just black and white. And then when we look at romantic attraction, it's not just about physical attraction. We have emotional attraction, intellectual attraction. There's so many roles that that play a role into it. And so when we understand that, I think it boils okay, I'm going all over the place, but it boils down to not understanding. People fear what they don't understand or what they don't know. And some people actually do maybe feel like they're on that spectrum, but they don't feel comfortable. because it's like, oh, I will be ostracized. People will not understand me. And I feel like for us as neurodivergents, we are more prone to just being authentic as ourselves because we're already like supposedly not a part of the norm. So we know what it's like to just be different. So it's easier for us to express that queerness if that is the case. But yeah, I hope that
Mhm.
answers. I think
Yeah, no,
that.
no, it definitely does. And I love the fact that you were saying that we accept being different, if you will. One of my most favorite words lately is actually something that Cass from our community and I've been talking about a lot. I offered her a new time to meet with her, and she said, well, can we keep that time and maybe perhaps move it to the back to the old time too? Because I'm not sure what
Yeah,
I'm going to need that day. She's like, I love and both. Those are my two favorite words. And it's something that I love as well because I love what I usually call the third way or the non-binary way, right?
yeah,
It's not just black or white. It's an and situation. It can be black and white and gray and whatever in between, right? I love leaving options open and making sure that, well, but what if all of them are true, right?
yeah,
Because in my opinion, I can be happy and sad at the same time. I can be
yeah,
happy that I'm here with you and really sad that something might be happening in my private life, right? I can be both. I don't feel like you have to be one or the other. And so I feel like that goes along with this situation as well as like we can be one and another. And
yeah.
we,
Duality exists. Yeah,
yes, yes, we can be more than that. I think that comes with when you were talking about embracing our uniqueness. I think part of what we struggle with a lot is being flawed. Whereas
yeah,
I think when you were talking about normal, I always say, and I roll my eyes, what the heck is normal anyway? Like, yes, some people might have this like definition of like normal, but there's so many variations now
yeah. Like
that
who decides who is normal? Who made that?
yeah, somebody
Like,
actually said to me, neurodivergent is normal now. Like
yeah,
everybody has something. And
yeah,
that's the new norm, right? Which I laughed at because I'm like, yeah, like, and then that's going to change as well. Just because so many children in my daughter's classes are neurodivergent on some sort of spectrum, and probably a lot of it is just how we live in this world and what we've been exposed to. I'll just say that. But yeah, so maybe as a closing thought, I always love a takeaway. You mentioned you go into nature. Is there anything else that you do during your day to kind of ground yourself in your sensitivity and regain your superpower if somebody has sucked the life out of you?
yeah. Spending time with myself. I love to spend time with myself now. Alone time, whether that's reading or just being outside in the sun. Yeah, I just love to embrace solitude. Before it was more of like an isolation, but now, yeah, it's just more of just like connecting, just being with myself. Like I have 6 children, so I definitely make sure I'm waking up before them. So I can just spend time with them, just exercising or reading or just doing nothing. Sometimes I just tell people, just do nothing. Just be with your thoughts. Just observe your thoughts, and where you're going. And another thing also, I wanted to mention is because we're talking about sensitivity, that is more of like the feminine aspect of who we are, to embrace that because we have both masculine and feminine features. And usually when we're in survival mode, we're more in that masculine role. So when you more in that feminine role, that more of that nature, the nurturing, that sensitivity allows you to soften for men and women alike, because sometimes that's probably going to a whole nother topic, but when it comes to males or men, we're talking about embracing your sensitivity as if that's like a woman's thing. And it's just the feminine part of you. We both have that. And like when you're talking about the duality, right? Two truths can exist at once. And I don't think people have the depth to hold that, to knowing that even our existence is a duality. We have the human experience, the 3D, and then we have the spiritual existence. And they're both are operating with two different rules and laws. And I think that intersection, I think a lot of people don't understand that too. And so just kind of understanding who you are as a person in general, your human experience, but also your spiritual experience. your emotional world, your inner world, not just our outer world. We're so focused on our external world. When we come back in and focus on our internal world, that's emotions, our feelings, and all of that. Yeah. So just sometimes just being with yourself and just like, what is it that I'm feeling? I'm like, is this something I'm feeling from now or is it something from past? And kind of getting to know who you are, being curious about yourself. As you know, we're curious about other people. Be curious about you. Who are you? Why are you here? What is your purpose? And yeah,
And
that
I would
is
love to add, oh gosh, that was so
okay.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing
You're
that
welcome.
little tangent there. And it falls so beautifully into our next show, which is the frequency of authenticity. But I also want to share that when you are sitting with yourself and you're noticing, like, don't place judgment because oftentimes I will feel anxiety around ovulation. And I'll feel like an elephant sitting on my chest, or my heart will start to like, I'll be getting nervous, you know. And now that I know that it's most likely hormonal, I just sit with it, right? I
Yeah.
don't place judgment. And so when you're noticing thoughts or getting curious with yourself and like, try to be as neutral as you can and embrace all of it because they're all parts of you. And you need to learn to love all parts of you because you are the what would I say? You have the full capacity to shift anything. Like you
Yes.
are the powerful. You are the superpower. And that's where it comes in, right?
Yes, yes, you are the co-creator in this life. Like, yeah, I was telling a client recently, sometimes we have to detach from ourselves. I think that kind of would make me kind of just propel forward a lot is I kind of detach from myself. I just feel like I'm floating, meaning a lot of us put shame on ourselves and are really hard on our thoughts. And it's kind of like, imagine if you remove yourself from yourself and you are your best friend or you are someone that you love. Would you
Hmm.
talk to that person like that? You know? So would you talk to yourself like that? Like talk to yourself with love and compassion.
Yeah.
It's something in the past. Usually a lot of stuff that we are dealing with anxiety is like the past. Or no, anxiety is the future, depression, the past. When you're just in the present moment, you just allow it to flow. You remove that attachment. Yeah,
Yes.
just a lot of things are just attachments to things from the past or the future. When you just allow yourself just to be present, it's usually just like that's where most of the peace lies in the safety, which is in you. You create that within yourself.
It's so true. I have that outer body experience all the time. I always go like this and I
Yeah.
can watch myself. Like it's kind of crazy when you have that
Yeah.
ability and it comes and you're like watching yourself like going, "Yeah, I see you, Nicole, doing that thing again." You know, it's
Yeah.
so crazy to be able to have that outer body experience, but also experiencing the experience as well. It's absolutely fascinating. It sounds crazy, but it's really fun and intuitive. Well, this has been
Yeah.
such a pleasure today. I cannot wait for our next shows. So if you are enjoying these conversations, definitely like, share, subscribe, comment below. It helps us in the algorithm. And most leave us in our community, community.sovereign-magazine.com. So if you have any questions for her, you can pop in there and ask her at any time. All her details will also be in the show notes for you to be able to follow her. And we're going to be coming back for some more. So definitely hit that bell so you can make sure to get our next one. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.